Right, indications. Where should a new robot go after? Depends, right? So I think if you can't do urology, you're in a really bad place. And the reason for that, again, is that robots are the gold standard in prostate. Absolute gold standard in prostate is the robot. And if you can't do a prostate and a hospital is looking to upgrade their current robot or expand their robot, and and the urologist says, well, if my robot goes down or we get this new robot, I have to stop doing prostates. How the hell are you ever going to sell that to the hospital administration? How are you going to do that? You have to have prostate in there. It doesn't mean you're going to sell to them. But what it means is that when you go through that purchasing process and somebody says, well, can you do the procedures we do today? You'd better well have prostate on there. And anyone who doesn't have prostate on there, who's gone out or going to market without prostate, you're going to struggle really hard. Doesn't mean you can't sell, but you'll struggle in many hospitals. Now, everyone's going to say, yeah, but what we'll do is we'll go to the gynecologist and the general surgeon. We'll go to the bariatric surgeon. Great, good, well done. But if the urologist gets into that buying decision, you're in trouble. Ideally, if I could wave a magic wand for all of you, I'd give you all the indications of everything all at once. But I think you need to have general surgery, you need to have urology, you need to have gynecology. That's a great place to start. Then you're going to have thoracic surgery after that because, it's a very important voice in the hospital. And if the hospital has a thoracic unit and they're getting into RATS, which is robotic assisted thoracic surgery, you're going to have to be able to do RATS at some point. After that, then ENT and TORS, you're going to get asked for that at some point, whether they do it or not. But if there's a strong ENT department in the hospital, I guarantee you somebody's talking to them. And if they've got the TORS application, I guarantee you they're talking to them. And if they've got a single port, I guarantee you they're talking to them. So I think you need to be able to do all of those indications, but you definitely got to have your general surgery, your gynecology and urology. And I think urology must be a tick box in there. My personal opinion, a lot of people will argue with that, but I think that you are making it so difficult for yourself to even have the conversation with the hospital if you can't do prostates. And people ask why. And it probably just is we didn't do this clinical trial in it. But a lot of people say, it's probably because they can't suture, or it's probably because they can't do this, or it's probably because it doesn't have this, which is wrong. But that's the sort of hill that you're going to put in your own way. So indications, it depends what you're after, depends what you're going for. And ultimately, it's whatever you've got regulatory approval for. But definitely go after some of the, an interesting one as well is it depends what your robot is. So if your robot is really suited to somewhere like an ASC, look at what the volume procedures are in the ASC and make it so that your robot can do those procedures at a reasonable price. And when I don't mean the cheap robot, what I mean is that your consumables or the way it's used or however your robot does the cases, it does it in an economic way so that volume can be done, etc. Quick thing on volume. If the hospital, either through direct or indirect ways, takes capital worth 1 million and they do one procedure a year, that procedure costs $1 million. If they do 1 million procedures a year, it costs them $1 per procedure. So the robot didn't change in price, but you crashed the price of the procedures by doing volume. So get that into your heads a little bit when you're thinking about the economics of this. How does your robot crash cost? Not how is it cheap? I hope that's clear enough. But I keep seeing that mixed up all the time. People get so confused on that. They go in and talk about, well, we've got a $600,000 robot. So what? It doesn't matter. If it's used in one case, it's 600,000. If it's used in 100 cases, that changes it to a completely different dynamic. So you've got to go in there and work out how does your robot get efficiency, usage. Any robot, or not any mainframe robot, something like a Da Vinci or if you're not getting to 250 cases a year, I think the hospital's not going to make money and you're not going to make money. That's been always my calculation in there. Telerobotics, teleproctoring, telesupport, absolutely essential. I think from a commercial point of view, this is going to become mainstream. Intuitive have demonstrated this at SRS this year. Medtronic have demonstrated this at SRS this year. If, Tumai is out there banging it away. Edge Medical is banging it away. You're going to have it. Is it real? Do people want it? Are they going to use it every day? It doesn't matter. Get that out of your head. Don't be sitting there saying, oh, nobody's going to be doing telerobotics. Who's going to be doing, they can't do their own cases. That's not the point. You're missing the point if you're even thinking that way. Instead, what you have to be thinking about is what's the utility of it and where could it be used? So it could be used for things like training or teleproctoring, or rather telepreceptoring, where someone can take over. Rescue missions where you're in a really bad part of the case, you're early in your learning curve, and a gynecologist from one of your partner hospitals can zoom in, fix the really difficult bit that you're doing, and zoom back out. There's different use cases for it. I've got a really good thing on my blog about this. But yet, and teleproctoring, very important. Everyone's going to have it as standard. And if you look at touch surgery, or you look at Proximy, or you look at a lot of the systems that are out there, they've all got it. The hub from Intuitive is a superb system as well. Everybody's got different teleproctoring and telesupport. And telesupport can mean two things. It can mean support during cases, or it can mean tele-engineering support. So you're having a problem with your robot, the telematic data, the telematic data is going back to the company, and they're working out their problems, and they can even fix it on the fly over the air. Very important from a commercial viewpoint, because this is going to be how you're going to be able to scale. One of the biggest roadblocks to all commercial is going to be the limitation on the number of proctors that are available. And proctors are getting it harder and harder to fly and spend 3 days somewhere or 5 days somewhere and fly back and forwards. It's hellish expensive, and it's just not going to work. If you can turn that onto teleproctoring, those limited proctors that exist can be much more efficient and do much more cases without having to leave their own practice. So teleproctoring, big. What workflow and procedures benefit most a commercial spin? Well, first of all, go where Intuitive's not if you can, and they are everywhere. But there are places where they are not, from a workflow point of view or from a procedure point of view, probably the first choice weapon. So if you're looking at something that's like a quick 20-minute procedure, like a gallbladder, can you use a Da Vinci? Absolutely. Can you set it up fast enough? Is it a big thing, and is it going to be in the ASC? Maybe not. So wherever they are not the prime choice, try and find that, be that a country, a region, a hospital, a surgical sector. Doesn't matter for your market or for your type of robot. Go and find where I wouldn't say that they can't do it because they can do everything, but where would they not be the first choice? And I would go and do that from a commercial point of view and go after those workflows and those procedure benefits the most. So if you've got the procedure benefit of a lower acuity and something like a moon works better, great. Then, go for the lower acuity places in an ASC, which is what they do. Strategic planning for commercial launch. Okay, some 30,000 foot views. So before a commercial launch, the first thing you need to do is you need to make sure that your robot is fit for purpose. You should not be going out there anymore, not in 2025, with minimal viable product. And what do I mean by that? I mean a product that just about limps along and just about goes out there. You have to look at each market what a minimal viable product would be. But I wouldn't be going out there unless you can do 80% of what the other companies, the top 3 companies out there, can do in that market. So, brief example, ICG. If ICG is needed in the gynecology market in the UK, and every robot that's going to the UK has ICG, and you don't have ICG, that's not going to be good for a commercial launch for you. So you've got to make sure that your feature sets match. That's one of the key things. Make sure your robot is fit for purpose. Make sure that the reliability is good. Make sure that you can get spares to it. Make sure that the in-field engineering support can actually support your robot, because you don't want to leave customers hanging. Get your messaging right. Understand your segmentation, market segmentation. Make sure you know which hospitals, which surgeons, which regions, why. Don't go after too many markets at once. It's easy to say we're going to go after everywhere at once, and you end up going East Coast, West Coast, USA, and you try and do it in gynecology and general surgery, and you just basically run out of power and run out of steam, and you never have enough focus. You try and do too many European markets at once. Don't try and do Germany and France and Italy and UK and Spain. Oh, and we'll do Portugal as well. But also, the Eastern Europe is looking really great at the minute. So let's also launch into Poland, and let's also go to the Czech Republic. Oh, and Hungary's looking quite good as well, because they've got some money there. Don't do that. Have a strategic reason for why you're going into a country and what you're trying to achieve there before you do the commercial launch. And then make sure your teams are trained. I still find absolutely staggering that people are out there just talking crap. They really are not trained. I'm a firm believer. I came out of the old SMC for ethical and endosurgery, where we went off for 6 weeks into Cincinnati and the USSC days in Connecticut. And Intuitive do that. They put people through these massive programs. And I see companies taking people out there who don't even know what the splenic flexure is. I see people going out there who are completely ill prepared. They don't even understand all the robots. They don't understand why, why do we even have ICG? What is ICG? I still see unprepared people in the field, and that's from the CEO all the way down to people anywhere in the company. They need to be trained and understand your robot, the competitive environment, what they're selling against, the economics, how to sell a robot. There's so much that you have to do before commercial launch. You have to get people prepared. And I'm still seeing people unprepared going out there. So there are a few of the things from 30,000 feet that before I set foot in a marketplace, I would do that. And then finally as well, from the Patrick Portage School, get a market pull going. Make sure that your marketing is opening the doors for you. You've got to have really good marketing. Again, I want to see better stuff on LinkedIn. Not going to call people out, but I would like to see people doing better on their marketing, especially their positioning, so that when I'm doing my LinkedIn feed, I can read your LinkedIn post and say, yep, that's on brand. Yep, that's with their unique proposition. Yep, that's consistent. That's what I'd like to see a little bit more of. And let your marketing do that before you launch so that people are aware of you, understand you. And when you go in and see that first customer, they say, yeah, I know about you and I know what you stand for and what you mean and know why you're different. That would be really nice if your commercial launch went into the back of that. Okay, robotic ecosystems. Well, clearly, I'm actually in the middle of writing an article that should go out tomorrow just about this. Is the robot important or is the digital ecosystem important? And the answer is, frustratingly, both. The benchmark out there now is that you have an amazing digital ecosystem and robotic ecosystem around it. So let's talk about the digital ecosystem. If you don't have an app, if you can't provide insights, if you can't provide case data, if you can't provide video back, get off the market. That's the minimum bar at the minute. You've got to be out there with it. I think that there's lots of great apps out there working. Lean into them and don't try and do it all yourself as well. See if there's some other company you can lean into to try and do it for you if you've not got it. But you do need to have a really good ecosystem around you from a digital point of view. It's just what everyone's expecting now. And again, if you've got Da Vinci users who you're trying to bring across to your system, and then they say, great, well, where do I get my data? And you say, oh yeah, well, we don't do any of that. That's going to be really hard for you because, it's like once you've been on Strava, it's hard to ride your bike not with Strava again, that sort of thing. It's going to be Intuitive's dominating that now. I do believe that we at CMR Surgical had that buttoned up and Intuitive's got so much mass might and data. They've got 17 million procedures. Of course they're going to dominate. They're throwing off, a couple of million procedures a year. Of course they're going to dominate because data is what drives those ecosystems. And if you're doing, 1,000 cases and they're doing 2 million, they've got 17 million to lean back into for data analytics. Their output's going to be better than yours. So of course they dominate. And they dominate from volume. They dominate from the number of connected people. They've got a lot of stuff now that works over the air so that I can go and set my Da Vinci 5 up before I walk into the operating room. Beautiful. Very important. But I did put this last little thing on, which was robotic or surgical.
Hey everyone, just one quick second to ask a big favor in the middle of this. It really helps me if you hit like, hopefully you like it, but subscribe and turn notifications on. And the reason for that is that a lot of these videos are going to come out in multiple parts. And rather than you trying to work out when it's done or hopefully you see the announcement that it comes out, if you put on the subscribe and the little notify bell, when I put up the new content, it will automatically come to your YouTube and it'll give you a little notification. So if you can just Subscribe, like, and again, comments very, very welcome. If there's other things you want me to do these sessions on, put them in the comments. That will help my channel immensely, and yeah, it will keep these things coming. So yeah, help me out.
I believe that the future, the person who gets this right, or the company that gets this right, you'll be able to use your digital ecosystem across all your surgeries, not just your laparoscopic. And Intuitive's leaning into this. If you look at their Da Vinci 5 tower, that is scooping up the data that goes in there. You get to use that first entry scope, as they call it, but it's also a good 2D scope. They're scooping up all that data. The battle in the future, I think, is going to be who's got the best surgical inclusive of robotics ecosystem, who can help operating room management and case management across the spectrum, who can give you insights in how your laparoscopic open and robotic cases all do versus each other. I think that that's a really important fundamental ecosystem in the end. Oh, I have a question. No, I don't have a question. Any benefit? Digital ecosystems that spans from lateral orthopedic. Oh, yes. So no, I do. I think that that's a great question, Arif. So the question was, any benefit digital ecosystems that span from lap to orthopedic? I think there is. I think data is going to drive everything, right? And if I was going to throw this out, and if anyone wants to take me up on this challenge, if I was building a digital ecosystem company today, it would be called Rosetta Stone. And it would allow you to take any data from any system and pool it all together. It doesn't matter whether you're in lab or orthopedic or endocardiac, or I think being able to see as a hospital administrator across all your robots and what they're all doing and how it's all working, I think is valuable. Maybe for individual surgeons, it's not as valuable. But if you're the clinical director, then potentially it could be valuable to understand what's happening in your clinical departments. But I think there is value in it. So if you can go cross-platform, why not? Intuitive's Intuitive Insights, my understanding is, and correct me if I'm wrong, anyone who's on from Intuitive, can take Da Vinci data and it can take Ion data. So I think that is looking at that. Quick question. Do you think of Da Vinci style system coming out of China and Asia? I'll try and get to that again in a minute. Yeah, I do like some of the systems coming out of China that are what I would call clones. Asia, I don't know about patents. I don't know what is I can't remember anymore what's on and off patent on those clone systems. Yeah, I don't know. That would be for a patent lawyer to look at that, and I'm sure the companies have looked at that. But yeah, they're good. I think again, if anyone, a lot of those systems coming out of China are very competent, and I've done a whole thing on MedBot, Microport MedBot, that I went there independently to look at their stuff, and I was quietly impressed before I went, and I was very impressed when I came back. And I've looked at the Hinatori the other day, and I've done a whole thing on the Hinatori. It's very, very nice. They're all capable. They can do surgery. So what do you want? Okay. Form factors, where do they appeal to and why? Hopefully I've covered some of that, but I think that, some of the form factors will be small for small spaces. I want to say one of the problems of something like an ASC. So an ASC or a clinic, it's often not the operating room that's the only problem. It can be the height of the operating room, the size of it. I went in one in Germany a while ago and I could literally touch wall to wall, and you wouldn't have got a Da Vinci in there because it wasn't tall enough. So that's a problem. Problem is actually one of the things on form factors is storage. I would be focusing so hard if I was a robotic company now on how does this thing become the smallest thing possible when it's packed away? How does it all fold into itself? How do you get the console to nest into how can you make it so that it's just out of the way? Because storage space is actually one of the bigger problems. And if you think about something like an ASC, where they're going to have going back to the other question, a spine robot, a neuro robot, and a lap robot, and an orthopedic knee robot. And you've got 4 or 5 robots in a space where they're basically using an OR. And I did a talk recently with Moon Surgical when I was there as part of their podcast series. Go look at that. They're using an operating room as a storeroom. So form factor is really important for storage as much as for usage. And then the form factor is going to be about your operating room style. I want to be more laparoscopic. Okay, then, distal motion, great for that. I can do a lot of laparoscopy and bring the robot in when I need it. I want to be even more laparoscopic. A Moon Surgical or something like that is going to be really, really good for that. I want to do everything start to finish, including stapling with my robot. Well, today your choice there is intuitive. That's it. If you want to do everything soup to nuts, that's intuitive. I want freedom of port placement, modular, CMR, um, Hugo, SSI, Renovo. Go and look at any of those. And I apologize, all the other ones that I'm missing. Yeah, they'll appeal to different people for different reasons. I've got more questions coming here. I don't know if I'll get through them all. iPhone Pros asked me a question. To which OEM would you pitch in vivo scope cleaner based on working prototype and patent? Ooh, scope cleaners have been around for a long, long time. And I know that several of the companies are probably doing their own, by the way, just to know. So be careful who you talk to. The problem with the scope cleaners is how big of a problem is it really, and can you prove it? And I know it is a problem sometimes, but take the scope out, wipe it, and put it back in seems to work in 17 million procedures. I think what you've got to do is you got to prove what it's really going to do as a benefit as a scope cleaner, and then go to the right appropriate people. And again, I would be thinking about OEMs that also do the, if it's built into the trocar, different thing, that you need people who do trocars. Yeah, you can go and talk to everyone. You just got to be able to prove that it's got absolute real value. That's the one thing I would say. Don't go and knock on their door till you can prove the value. We have 5 minutes left. Onboarding KOLs. How do you get their attention? Well, I wear purple. No, I'm joking. So target. Not all KOLs are equal. Some of the KOLs are completely sewn up with some of the different companies. You've got to get your segmentation and your targeting, and you've got to understand what lights that KOL's fire. If it's about being on the podium and being everywhere on the podium, then maybe because you're a new robot, could be exciting for them. You're a new endoluminal robot. No one's done the endoluminal before. Bang. You've got to really try and appeal to the ego that's behind the KOL. And you've got to understand also how the KOL is appreciated in the world. There's lots of key opinion leaders who, a bit like me, some people like and some people hate, right? And again, what you don't want to do is get yourself a toxic key opinion leader that's just going to kill your brand. So make sure you target them, understand them, and then go and have honest conversations. And the number one thing with a lot of the opinion leaders that I've had is they hate it when you turn up with your finished product and say, oh, well, now we'd like you just to be the face of it. A lot of opinion leaders really don't like that. They want to be involved in the early days and have influence on how you build it, what features you put on there, how you market it, how you sell it. They like to do all those kind of things. So target your key opinion leaders for sure, because different horses for courses. And also, do they fit your brand? Are they really bought into your differentiation, or are they just looking for the next paycheck? That's another thing that I would be trying to filter for. But yeah, target. Then how do you get their attention? You need to go to them with a clear what we're going to use you for, and then freaking do it. Going there and just talking to key opinion leaders and then disappearing off and not coming back, and then going back and say, yeah, we're ready now, and then not coming back is just a complete nightmare for everybody. And they'll get pissed off with it pretty quickly. So go there with concrete proposition, realize you're going to have to pay for some of them, and have a concrete plan of what you want them to do, when and how. And from a compliance point of view, it also has to be that way. And I won't get into compliance now, but if you don't understand the compliance side of that for key opinion leaders, make sure that you understand it. Well, a couple of good questions. If you have a wish for the sake of the healthcare system and patients, which 2 or 3 companies would you love to see merging to take robot? Well, this is a nice question. So if you wish for the sake of the healthcare systems and patients, which 2 or 3 companies would you love to see merging to take robotics to the next level? So let me talk about sort of the Da Vinci style robotic, or that the laparoscopic, because different ones, I'd like to see different ones emerge. And the endoluminal robots I'd love to take off, because I don't want to ever be split open as a patient. I'm a coward, and people sticking things into me and cutting me open just makes, I've seen enough in my career to be feared to death. So anyone that can do something without invading me, give me an endoluminal robot all day long, please. But which 2 or 3 companies? I do think I love Intuitive to death, and I respect them enormously. I love what they do, and I love the people there, and I love what they're trying to do. But they need 2 or 3 good competitors. So I'd like to see Medtronic do really, really well. I believe in the people at Medtronic. I believe what they're trying to do. And I think they've got a couple of things they need to fix, but I think they can do it. And I think that would be good because they can go across all the open lap and robotic together. And I think that they can be one of the companies. And the same for J&J. Actually, and I know people think that I always sort of rail a bit on J&J. I don't. I worked there for 16 years, and it's one of the companies that, is still in my heart. I'd love to see them do well with Ottava. I don't think they need to merge with anyone. I think they've got enough on their plate. I think that I'd like to see EndoQuest taken on by either a J&J or a Medtronic or a Boston Scientific. I'd like to see EndoQuest because they've got an uphill struggle just because it's a tough thing they're trying to do. And I think one of the big companies either investing in them or supporting them would be really good for the healthcare environment and for patients. I think that would be amazing if they could do that. I think that CMR Surgical, I think they're amazing. The Versius, I still think is brilliant. I'm very biased because, I was involved in that project, but I would love to see a big company like a Stryker or something take them, or a Moon Surgical or a Distal. None of the small companies that have got some innovation are going to be able to do this heavy lifting on their own. So I think I'd like to see Intuitive, J&J, and Medtronic survive because that's going to be healthy for the environment. Then some of the innovations in there, I'd like to see, a Moon Surgical, a Distal Motion, or a CMR Surgical taken by somebody. SSI is a great one as well. Cardiac, that's great. Maybe Edwards Life Sciences. I'd like to see more companies that are not in general surgery today get into the general surgery. Becton Dickinson needs to sort something out for their hernia. Lots of things that could go on there. Right, we're up on the hour. I don't think I can take any more questions, and I've not got to my number 4, which I predicted I wouldn't do. But we are up on the hour, and I want to respect everybody's time because I know that a lot of people have got to leave. So what I am going to do is I'm going to try and do a final poll just quickly. And this is not going to work, I know it. So I apologize if this doesn't work. Let me see if I can launch the masterclass feedback. Then I can hang around for another few minutes if people want to. So hopefully that's appeared on your screen now, the poll. I want to know if this has been useful to do any more, which would be good. I want to know if it's any feedback that you've got. There's a little short answer thing, and if you sort of click on the short answer, I will try and look at some of the comments or suggestions or comments. I know I talk fast. I know I'm terrible at getting through this stuff. There was a lot to get through today. I know I'm not going to get to all the questions. Comments and suggestions would be great. If there's something about the system that didn't work, or the audio or the video or something, open to feedback. You should all know me by now. I am not soft at all. You can tell me it was shit if you want to tell me it was shit, and I will not be offended. It will just make me more determined to make this better. And yeah, let me know in the feedback. And then again, any of the unanswered questions that I will try and do. If you'd like me to do another session, I will do it as well. And that is sort of it for now. And I will. Oh, do I get to go here? Yeah.
Hey everyone, just one quick second to ask a big favour in the middle of this.
I will do more of these if you want.
It really helps me.
Thank you very much for being here. Thank you for sticking around. And I will get
the subscribe online and turn notifications on. The reason for that is that a lot of these videos are going to come out in multiple parts. And rather than you trying to work out when it's done or hope that you see the announcement that it comes out, if you put on the subscribe and the little notify bell, when I put up the new content, it will automatically come to your YouTube and it'll give you a little notification. So if you can just subscribe, like, and again, comments, very, very welcome. If there's other things you want me to do these sessions on, put them in the comments. That will help my channel immensely. And yeah, it will keep these things coming.
Right.
So yeah, help me out.
There we go. Ooh, I think I'm back on Zoom, full Zoom now. So thank you very much, everyone who's still around. There's 31 of you still hanging on. Thank you very much. It's been great to be here, and I do appreciate you hanging around. And again, feel free to mail me. Again, look at the blog. I've got the blog, and there's a lot on the blog that's in there, and that's now opened up to be fully free. All the back catalogue back to 2023 is now on there as well. I thank you all for being around. I want you to enjoy wherever you are. Be safe, have fun, have success with robots, and yeah, hopefully we can do this again soon. So thank you very much, and I'll catch you next time.
Okay, thank you for getting through all that. I hope you've seen part 1, 2, and 3 as well as part 4. Obviously, again, I can't stress enough that if you subscribe, turn on the notifications, that really helps the channel, number one. But number two is when I upload new content, and there will be lots more masterclasses coming, it really, really helps for you to get notified immediately without me having to try and get to you and tell you that stuff is coming on the channel. So subscribe, like always helps as well. And but it's important to turn the little notification bell on. That's really important. Thank you, and catch you on the next one.